Proud mouth. Be your own loud.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Be Your Own Loud. We were just recently, my guest and myself, were at the podcast community movement thing in Nashville, and there weren't a whole bunch of people there because of the pandemic. And I'm sitting at the bar in the hotel, and there's this dude sitting at the bar. And I look over and him and I make eye contact. He smiles at me. I smile at him. And like 10 seconds later, he's sitting at the table and he introduces himself. And I notice he has an accent. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, so first off, how did he get here? Because like everything in the world's closed down. And secondly, he's super friendly. Like I was just like, what a fun guy to chat with. And guys, his story is unbelievable. So his name is Palle Bo, and what he is he is the Radio Vagabond. Now, this interview is going to be a little bit different than some of the other ones because, well, one, I've never interviewed anybody like him, and number two, he doesn't have a home. Besides within himself, which is something we're going to talk about. But anyway, I really want you all to check out the Radio Vagabond. It's unflippin' believable. We're going to talk a little bit about the show that he produces, what he does with his life. But first off, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so good to see you again.
I can't believe I was just telling the team earlier that you came over. We hung out for, I don't know, like an hour or so. And then you're like, I'm going to go meet other people. And then you just like walked off. We were actually at the Questlove concert when he was DJing for iHeartRadio, which was a whole bunch of fun. But okay, so at 50, your life changed. Why don't we start there?
Oh, it did. Oh, yeah, it did. I am from Denmark, and I've been living here the first 50 years of my life. And as I was getting into my late 40s, I thought, I've lived here all my life, and it's not going to be on my tombstone. He lived in Randers all his life. I want to live somewhere else. It's a city with 60,000 people, so it's a small city in the rural part of Denmark. Denmark is small, so it's fairly close to everything, close to Copenhagen, like everything in Denmark is. But I thought, I want to live somewhere else, and I could see that my kids would graduate and move out of their house in a couple of years. So from there, I started planning to, in the beginning, I thought I'm going to live in another country for 2 years. And that was sort of my plan in the beginning. But then it dawned on me that actually I run my own one-man band company producing radio and audio and podcast, and I can do that anywhere. So why settle for one place? And I didn't even know that there was such a term called digital nomads, and I certainly didn't expect that I would be traveling for 5.5 years. I've been doing now, and I have no plans of quitting anytime soon. Yeah. So in the summer of 2016, I left Denmark. I'd sold everything: my house, my car, my furniture, and my wife. And then I, sorry, I always love that joke. And then I've been traveling ever since, and I absolutely love it.
5.5 years, 97 countries, 48 U.S. states, and 382 homes so far. Now, how do you do this, Palle? How do you make it so that you can make a living and not have a permanent residence? I mean, I think a lot of people, that just blows their mind. How do you execute on this?
Yeah, well, nowadays I produce mostly podcasts. I do my own travel podcast, Radio Vagabond, and that's a part of it. I spend a lot of time doing it, but it's mostly a passion project because I just love producing audio. Thank God that's my job as well, and I'm able to produce podcasts for Lego. I've been working on 11 different projects for Lego for the last 3-4 years, and other clients as well. and I'm able to do that anywhere just as long as I have decent internet connection and my laptop and a couple of microphones that I travel with and go wherever I am.
So you have to travel, I'm assuming, pretty light, though. How do you lug all of this stuff around? Do you just rob Peter to pay Paul with how much stuff you bring, or help me get that? I mean, because I have a portable recording thing.
Yeah.
It's not small, brother.
No, well, the one I'm using is this one, the Zoom H6, and then I have my my trusted Shure microphone and a few other microphones. So, but it's not a lot. I have a suitcase that goes up to the 50 pounds. I can easily fill it up with much more, but I want to keep it under the 50 pounds, 23 kilos for checking in. And then I have a small roll-on that actually, when I flew from London to Denmark, well, I'm back in Denmark right now. It's unbelievable. I found out that was twice the weight that it was allowed to be. So right now I'm gonna dump a lot of stuff. Yeah, my carry-on, that's where I put all the heavy stuff, my microphones and my gear and stuff like that. So that was just too heavy. So I need to thin out now that I'm back in Denmark and get more light again. But yeah, I always try to balance out. I had been traveling only with a carry-on. That's when I did a lot of traveling in Africa, because going around with a huge suitcase, because I knew that I was going to be using a lot of tiny shared taxis and minibuses. So going around with a big suitcase there would be, I wouldn't be popular, let me say it that way.
Yeah.
So that was carry-on only. And it is doable, but I like the luxury of having a little bit more stuff. But I never buy stuff because that's just going to weigh in. So
yeah,
the only thing I buy here and there is an occasional T-shirt.
So let's talk about the Radio Vagabond.
I got a lot from Nashville.
You did. I remember you talking about how you got some new shirts while you were down there. For some reason, T-shirts were really big there. I probably picked up like 2 or 3 because I gave some to my kids, and of course I kept a couple. But let's talk about the podcast. There are a lot of travel podcasts out there, and one of the things that we try to focus on with this show is what makes you truly fundamentally unique and different, so that you're bringing something that isn't contributing to just noise out there, that you're really rising above that noise and allowing yourself to be you. What makes the Radio Vagabond fundamentally different as a show?
Basically, it is that I'm recording everywhere, and it's. I think in the 230 episodes I've done so far, I've only done 1 or 2 remote interviews where we were not in the same location. I don't mind it being in a place where there's a local sound in a park or a cafe, as long as they're not playing music, or a street corner or a car. That's what I like to do, and it's not an interview based. I do interviews, but it's not an interview based show. It's kind of where I just let people be a fly on the wall. So there are a ton of sound. So when I'm in Morocco, you can hear the mosque in the background. I'm in Hanoi, you can hear the sound of the horns on the scooters driving around. So and always the local language in the background. So you get a sense that, okay, it's definitely away from where the sounds that I normally hear when I walk around in the city. So really try to have a ton of a big soundscape on it, and then I do some storytelling, a voiceover in between the different clips and connecting the whole thing, and a lot of music. So a ton of editing goes into the producing. My episodes are around half an hour long, and I spent maybe 2-3 full working days, like 8 hours, so 16 or 25 hours just editing one episode. Yeah,
Holy
a lot
Moses.
of work goes into it. Yeah. So you can see it's a passion.
Well, yeah, but it's also the production quality is really next level, and I think that's another real big thing that separates you from the others that are out there that are traveling podcasts is that you are putting so much blood, sweat, and tears into it that you really feel that on the receiving end. Now, when you're out and about traveling around, since you've been so many places, so let's talk about all of the different languages that are spoken in Africa, even regional dialects when you're traveling to other countries. How do you overcome that? How many languages do you speak, or do you have tips, tricks, and techniques that our listeners might be able to use when they are out and about?
Well, thank you. Thankfully, most places you can get by with English. But now that you mention Africa, when I did this big trip of Northwestern Africa, and it was more challenging because a lot of the places they only understand French. And I did have French in school, like back when the world was black and white. And after that, I had Spanish, so that pushed away my French. But actually, when I got there, it was like, oh my God, I pulled out a word that I hadn't thought about for a
Oh,
long time. And whoa, that was a whole sentence here. Where did that come from? So a few things came back. I always try to just pick up a few words like thank you and hello and good morning and stuff like that, and the locals really appreciate that, and they want to. Then they're more eager to try to communicate. But yeah, it can be challenging. I I'm from Denmark, so I speak Danish and I understand Swedish and Norwegian, which is quite similar. A little bit of German, English, and then a little bit of Spanish. I was in Colombia earlier this year, and I found a private teacher, and she gave me
oh,
classes 3 times a week. And even after I left Colombia, we started doing it online, and so I had 3 4 months of really intensive Spanish learning, and she gave me homework, and I really took it serious, tried to be a good
yeah.
student. But the thing is, when my brain just it doesn't stick like it used to. So she could tell me something. I was like, yeah, I got it now. And then 2 years later, it was like it's never been in my brain. So that's a little bit annoying. I don't know why that is, Matt. I don't know if you have the answer for that or
Oh,
a
I
trick.
don't. I don't have the answer,
Yeah, my
but at
but my
least you're not
Spanish
alone.
definitely improved. Good,
Well,
good.
and yeah, you're
Yeah.
not alone, man. I think that's just an age thing, dude. I really do. I think that that's as we get older, our brain just is like, yeah, I'm just there's not room, or it's going to push something out more important. Okay, now I really want to talk about the traveling stuff, and I want to talk about it because when you and I chatted in Nashville, this is fundamentally affected like your soul, right? Being in so many different places and spending so much time with so many other people, not having a permanent residence and all of the things that go on with this life that you've created. What are some of the things, like if you could encapsulate some of this and say, you know, here are the top 5 or 6 things that I have noticed or that I've learned or that I've experienced in all of your travels. What would those things be?
It's hard to just put of words because it's so much, and I think the thing that's really puzzled me is like before I started traveling at the age of 51, I time was flying by. The year 1 year just like a snap of the fingers, and whoa, it's already Christmas again. And then started traveling. I I can't believe that it's only been 5 years ago. Those 5 years, what happened in this beginning of my journey was like ages ago. It feels like 20 years. And I started wondering, why is that? I remember I was back for 3.5. I had an old friend of mine in the old supermarket that I used to go to, and he said, well, have you been? And I said, well, it's 3.5 years. He didn't believe me because for him, it felt like a year. But for me, it felt like 20 years. And that is really interesting. And what I discovered was that people have said it's because you put your brain to work every day, and when you're not using any brain power on where to shop and which way to drive to work, you're more or less on autopilot. And every single day I have to put my brain to work, and like, where's the closest supermarket? How do you say water in and how do you plug in the electricity, and like every little thing that we all take for granted when we live in the normal day-to-day life. And I think that's the reason that for me it feels like time is moving so much slower. So that's really an interesting fact, that I have found kind of a way to control life, the time I'm on this planet, or at least it feels like that.
I definitely think that we take that time for granted. It's so funny that you bring that up. I was just driving around with my wife a couple of days ago, and I said, man, things seem to be moving really fast. And there was something I read a long time ago, that you should always try to fundamentally do something that interrupts your patterns of that kind of rote tape or whatever, that muscle memory, right? Like brushing your teeth with your other hand, going a different way to work and that stuff. You, for
Exactly.
you, that's on a different level, dude, because you don't even know if the plug that you have is going to fit in the, I mean, I'm sure you have adapters, but that sort of stuff. I mean, wow, the level of focus that you need to have. Now, do you think because of that, that makes you more accessible to people? Because that's one of the things I felt about you right out of the gate, was you just felt very accessible to me as somebody who, I didn't know you from Adam. Do you think that level of mental flexibility allows you to be more approachable by people?
Hmm. I don't know. I think that's also part of who I am.
Okay.
I don't know if you noticed, but I'm pretty extrovert.
Just a little bit, dude. Yeah.
but the funny thing, Matt, when I was younger, I was not. Like when I was in my 20s, I co-founded a radio station here in my hometown, and I ended up. Obviously I was the morning host and all that, but it was a small station, so all of a sudden I ended up as a sales manager. And then obviously a part of my job was to go to receptions and network functions, and I hated it. Much rather I'd be cooped up in my office just typing out strategies and stuff like that. I hated going out, and now all I do is I love it, and that's really what I enjoy doing. So yeah, I learned how to be extrovert. So I think that's a part of it, and then obviously also it's a necessity because I'm traveling alone and I like to be around other people. So that's why I try to get out and meet people. And then when I am in Nashville and I am in a bar, I want to speak to people. I want to meet people. So yeah, but I think it might be different for other folks. I have a friend who traveled to every country in the world, and he did that when he was very young, and he's not the outgoing type. So big to wonder what that was like, traveling full time for 8 years, because he did meet people and he did make friends, but not the same way that I do. So it's different for different folks.
How do you maintain your network of friends, family, business relationships? Do you think that, like, somebody like me would just be overthinking that because the world is virtual now anyway? But how do you maintain the network, and how do you make the decision on who is in and is worth your attention and who is out?
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, that is a very, very good question, because obviously I meet so many people, and sometimes it's me. I could definitely be better at maintaining those relationships, but thankfully, a lot of the people I meet, they send me a message from time to time, and we get into a conversation, and meet them, and they're nice people. Yeah, we're probably going to say that much, but just happen not to. But sometimes it's like I met a guy when I was in Panama, staying at a hostel, and he was a nice guy, but I didn't really think that. I thought, yeah, we're probably not going to be the people that are speaking a lot. But then he wrote to me a number of times, and then we go into these conversations. So now we speak very regularly. And I have friends that I met that I just stay in touch with. I met a young nomad in Medellin, Colombia, and we speak almost every day. And I have made so many friends that I'm very connected to. So it varies.
So how do you balance? So you have such an irregular lifestyle, right? How do you balance pleasure, work? Do you draw specific lines? Do you get up at 7 a.m. every day and blankety blank? How do you organize yourself so that you're still, I don't know, making whatever progress that you make?
I don't have any schedule. I've got a lot of work, and I got a lot of deadlines coming up at work. I don't feel that I'm in a place where I can be focused on the work. Like I mentioned, back in Denmark right now, and I have a lot of deadlines coming up for both Lego and another big client in the next 2-3 weeks. So I made sure that I'm in a place with Wi-Fi and good, quiet place where I can just focus on working. So I'm going to be working 8, 10, 12-hour days in the coming weeks. So I'm really going to be focused on work now that I'm here. Obviously, I'm also going to see my friends and especially my family. I have my kids living close by, so it's wonderful to see them. But it's also when I have deadlines and when I have some stuff that I need to do, that's when I make sure that I'm not in Conakry, Africa, so with dodgy Wi-Fi. So that'll be a challenge. So I make sure that I don't have a plan. I try to get up fairly early, but sometimes, I sleep in. I would work on a Saturday or a Sunday if I had to, and I would go out doing stuff on a Wednesday if there's not a deadline. So I don't really see the week as okay, now it's weekend, yay. It doesn't matter. It can be a weekend on a Tuesday.
Sure. There's one of the podcasts that we run is called Every Day is Saturday, and it's actually about retirement. But that's kind of what I wanted to get to is the so many things that we hold fast to, right? Deadlines, schedules, time of day, eating this time, doing all of that is really a false construct that we've really put on ourselves to make it feel like we're making progress. And when you start stripping some of those things away, it really allows you to, I believe, and I think you're living proof of this, really live your life to the fullest because you're not putting the same ridiculous constraints on. Now, I have a couple of quick not really personal questions, but things that I'm just really curious about. So number one, you've been and I shouldn't say everywhere, but you've been a lot of places, dude. So let's talk about what is your favorite food?
So I did a walking tour in San Salvador, and she said, "Oh, after the tour, go into that restaurant and try the pupusa." I don't know if you know what pupusa is. It's like 2 tortillas with something inside, and typically cheese, and then it can be chicken or something else. And so it's kind of like a filled tortilla with something inside. And I went in there and I ordered it, and then I got it, and when I took a bite of it, it was like my head exploded. It was so good. It was so good. So I had a lot of that. I was in El Salvador, and I try to get the local food, but also sometimes I just want a pizza. So to be honest, so yeah, I'm not traveling for food. I like food, but I'm not a foodie per se. But yeah.
If you could say to our listeners that there was one place that probably people wouldn't go, but when you were there, you're like, everybody should come here? Where would that place be?
Albania.
Really?
Yeah, that was really a big surprise for me. I wanted to do the Balkans, so I wanted to do Croatia and Kosovo and Serbia and Montenegro and all that, and then I was in Greece, so I thought, yeah, I got a quest that I want to visit every country in the world, so obviously I need to go to Albania. I thought it's just going to be one of those places I go into and then, yeah, that was it, and then leave again. And it's probably all concrete and boring, but it was so good. They got so much beautiful nature, and I didn't even go to the coast. And I saw some photos from the whole coastline they have. It's stunning there. But I was in Tirana most of the time, and it's a great city, and it's fairly cheap. And I think it's an undiscovered gem that could be the next big thing. It's really an interesting place, and so much history and so much culture.
What is your favorite way to travel? I mean, I understand that from a necessity standpoint, flying, you do a lot of flying, but if you could choose, what would be your mode of travel?
I do a bit of everything. I do buses. I rent cars, and I drive, and I do trains. I love trains. I also like cruising on a cruise line. I did a Caribbean cruise just after we met. I did a 12-day celebrity cruise of the Caribbean, which was amazing. And I'm actually looking at a cruise right now that goes from Dubai to Cape Town later this year in December. So I'm thinking of doing that. That would be great. Go to the Seychelles and Madagascar and a few other places. So that would be great. I've never had my own van, so I haven't done the van life, and I would really like to do that. I kind of like doing a bit of everything. Trains are great. Trains are so great, and one of highest on my bucket list is the Trans-Siberian Railroad, and also there's some luxury trains in Africa, in the southern half of Africa that are just looks amazing. So I really want to do that as well, and it also makes for a great sound on the podcast. So I want to do a lot of podcasting from trains. And recently I did a lot of traveling in the US, and I did one leg of my journey was on the Amtrak's, I did want to go when I was in Fargo, North Dakota. I wanted to take the train across Montana and all the way to Seattle and Portland, but that was just when a train on that route got derailed recently. So right after that, and also the fact that it was 3, 4, 5 times as expensive as a flight. It was really expensive to going on that, especially if you want your own cabin. And since it's 36 hours and I'm not that good at just sleeping in a chair, I thought, okay, if I'm doing that long, I want a cabin where I can actually lie down and get some sleep. But and that makes it super expensive, in my opinion. But I want to do more trains as well. So yeah.
I have 2 more questions for you. So number 1, where are you headed next? So you just talked about the cruise potentially, but where are you going from Denmark?
I have no clue.
Yay!
I really don't know.
Wow, cool.
Yeah, I really don't know. I know for a fact that in March I'm going to be in the southern part of Spain for a TBEX conference. That's a travel bloggers, a travel content creator conference, and they also have one in Tri-Cities, Washington State. So I'm going there, and and that's in April, and then they have one in Thailand in October. So those 3 things I know that I'm gonna do, but in between I really don't know, and I'm dabbling. Maybe should I go to Portugal? I've only been to Lisbon like many years ago, and it's a big nomad community, so I have a lot of friends there. And then another friend told me about this cruise, and yeah, that sounds like and then I would get down to Cape Town for Christmas, and Cape Town is like my second home. I absolutely love it there, and I have so many friends there. And to be there for Christmas would be great, since I'm not able to be in Denmark because I'm not a resident in Denmark. I'm a citizen. I have the passport, but I'm not a resident. So there's a limit to how long time I can spend in Denmark. So I'm not able to be here. Yeah, it's only 42 days within a 6-month period. It's a tax thing, but. Then the other option would be to go to Cape Town, and that would be amazing.
I remember you saying when we had met in Nashville that was one of your favorite places that you had ever been, that you did look at that as your second home. Okay, so this is my favorite question that I ask pretty much all of the guests, which is, what should I have asked you?
Oh, Jesus. I don't know. I don't know. Oh, you could have. Maybe I should have watched you a little bit more, so I knew that you were gonna ask that. Because I think you've done this before.
Just a few times, man. But you sent us so much cool stuff. First off, your media kit. I just told my team I showed them your media kit, and I was like, guys, this is like the media kit of all media kits. I don't know if that's something it's on your website. So that's something the team will put that up on the screen here for your website specifically. Hey, I just want to, first off, thank you for carving time out. I know that you do have a lot of deadlines and that you're very busy. Thank you very much for joining our audience today. Thank you for just coming up to me and talking to me. You brightened my day then, and you have also in turn brightened my day and our audience day now. So, Palle, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Matt, and I hope that we can have another beer somewhere in the world.
I'm going to find you, brother. That's what I'm going to do. All right, everybody. So make sure that you tune into the Radio Vagabond, pretty please, because it's an unbelievable show. Make sure that you go to the website, the Radio Vagabond. And also, you know what? Just keep in mind that we always put very interesting constraints on ourselves for really no apparent reasons, because it's comfortable and familiar. But when you step out of the comfort and familiar and allow yourself to have to look at things in a fundamentally different way, you're going to not only question why you do what you do, but you're also going to get a different perspective of reality. And I don't know about you, but I think all of us could use that every once in a while. So for Palle and all of us here at Proudmouth, this is Matt Halloran, and we'll see you on the other side of the mic very soon.